Production.
What is poppin'? The Exro squad. We've been chilling up in this range, eh? So here we got a breakdown here. We're going over Exro Technologies. We've been loving this stock's trend ever since the beginning of this year. Because once it's in this range, there's a major resistance zone. So we're thinking, all right, is this gonna break out? And we get massive volume coming in. We break out and we start developing clean higher highs and higher lows. We start shaping up patterns, right? So right now everything's looking good, right? So there's a few different scenarios that we could potentially look at. And I want to start off with the bearish one, right? So here we have a shorter term trend that's leaning towards the downside, right? Right? We can't break up and make a higher high compared to the February high, right? So it looks like we're battling this zone, right? So worst case scenario, in my opinion, is we spend more time, we retest this 220 range, and we do something like this, right? That's what we need to be wary of. And then from there, depending on market sentiment, right? Depending on what the rest of the market does, because that could also have an effect on Exro. We'll be looking to see if this creates some sort of a bear flag and we break to the bearish side down here, which would be around 170, okay? And that, I'm just pointing out previous resistance and support levels. So the reason why I say around 170 is because around this range here, we've had the resistance, right? We break up and we've tested as support. We haven't really developed a major base above that level. So worst case scenario, the markets just don't turn around in the bull's favor and we end up retesting 170 eventually, right? I don't think that's going to happen, but keep in mind, it doesn't really matter what I think, right? The markets are going to do what they want to do. What I'm paying attention to for a bullish perspective, right? We have this triangle shaping up. So that could be our signal that this is just taking some time to consolidate. We do have a few touches of this lower trend line, which make it valid for now. We just want to see if we get tighter and tighter in the apex of this triangle before we get a bullish breakout to the upside, you know, making our new higher high in this uptrend still valid, okay? So that's another thing we want to look for. Another bullish scenario that we could look at is that we short term, we break below, but we retest our 220 range, right? We retest and then we get the breakout from here where we create a new resistance and support range that would give us something to look for around like this. I'm going to try to mark it out as best as I can, something like that, where we just play in this range for a little bit, developing a base before we get the move to the higher high, right? So that's another potential that could happen. But for the most part, that's what I'm paying attention to here on Exro. Again, it's on log chart, so it looks great. It even looks great on a regular chart, as you can see. So if we're looking at this from like an Elliott wave perspective, it could potentially be here, our wave 1, right? We have our wave 2 correction, which gives us this kind of ascending triangle pattern, right? Wave 3 and then wave 4, which is the longest consolidation phase, right? Could be something like this where we have a wave 4 correction before we get something like that, right? Wave 5. So that could be the play looking at this. I've been covering Exro for several weeks now, so so far we've been pretty dialed into this stock. So I think one of the outcomes is likely to happen that we went through today. So there's about 3 outcomes, right? One to the bear side, which brings us towards this 170 range, probably throughout the summer here. Or we have the bullish scenarios, one being we're getting tighter in this triangle and we break out shortly, or we just need a longer base to develop above this 220 range before we get that higher high around that level, right? So that's the breakdown here on Exro. Peace, guys.